and welcome. This is Riding with Rob. Now today on Riding with Rob, I'm going to be talking about some more performance parts and upgrades for you. And what I want to talk about today is how to upgrade your fuel system. Now I touched on fuel systems slightly when I was talking about your basic horsepower for beginners video there that I did, but fuel systems in general are actually pretty in-depth, and there's a lot of different things that you can do to your current fuel system to make sure it gets the most fuel into your engine as possible, and get the fuel there in an efficient manner so that way you don't excuse me, there's a crappy minivan. You gotta give me 1 second here. I just totally lost my train of thought, asshole. Let's do 10 under, alright. So, I hate minivans. So anyway, to start off, I think that there's a lot of misconceptions about fuel systems. Listen, the very best thing that you can do for any fuel system is not add a big fuel pump, and it's not add big injectors. It's honestly to add an adjustable fuel pressure regulator. You'll see these online. The acronym is AFPR, and what these do is exactly what they say they do. You can adjust your fuel pressure, and it replaces your stock regulator. All cars' stock regulators are set up to run whatever the stock system is tuned for, and let's face it, cars straight from the factory, they're not tuned for performance. They're tuned for crappy gas and a whole bunch of different driving conditions, and they're not really tuned for performance. So the fuel systems are there to give it its basic needs for fuel. So being able to adjust the fuel pressure is good because A, you can max out your stock system, and B, when you do start to upgrade stuff, you're not going to overwhelm your fuel pressure regulator. Now, with a stock pressure regulator, if you just throw on some big Walbro 255 fuel pump, you may overload the stock fuel pressure regulator, and then it's not going to get any fuel really to your engine. I mean, it's just going to be pissing fuel through your regulator. It's going to destroy your regulator, the stock one anyway, and you may just be overwhelming the injectors, and you may actually cause harm to the injectors and too much pressure behind them. So it's definitely something you want to invest in. It's going to be good not only for right away, but also later on down the line as you begin to upgrade. Now, there's also different stuff that I think kind of gets misconstrued, like fuel rails. Now, a fuel rail is good. It's kind of a nice thing if you want to add a little gauge onto it, or you just want to dress up the engine bay, or or maybe your stock fuel rail doesn't allow a regulator on there because of how the stock fuel system set up. That's what they're really good for. You're not really going to see a performance gain out of putting a different fuel rail on there. Now, a lot of people contest that they flow more fuel, and I don't think they necessarily flow more fuel as much as they flow it more efficiently to where you're not going to get that vaporization inside the fuel rail. But for the most part, your stock fuel rail is totally fine. It just doesn't look as good and doesn't have a nice little name on it. So there you go. But really, once you've got your whoa, calm down there, BMW jerk. But once you've got your fuel pressure regulator, then the whole world of doing stuff to your fuel system really comes alive. From there, personally, what I would do is then add a bigger fuel pump, and also add actually before the fuel pump, I put in a high flow inline fuel filter, because that's going to allow you to get the most pressure out of your stock fuel pump, and it's going to make your stock system as efficient as it's going to be with an adjustable fuel pressure regulator and an inline fuel filter. That's the best your stock system's going to be. You can max out the fuel pressure to your regulator, and you're going to get the max pressure out of your fuel pump because it's not going to be pushing through a weird banjo fitting or something like that. So that's going to be the best thing you can do for your stock system, and also give you the best basis to then upgrade. So then, like I said, adding a bigger fuel pump, because then you can max out your stock injectors. There's only so much fuel pressure you can put behind certain size injectors. So if you've got smaller injectors, you put a bigger fuel pump back there, and then you can adjust the ratio. Usually starting out with a stock fuel pressure, and you can look these up, usually in the not necessarily the owner's manual, but the repair manual, or they always have the Haynes guides for all the different cars. It's usually in some some type of literature like that. And then from there, you can upgrade your fuel injectors, and a bigger fuel injector is going to be able to put out more fuel at a lower fuel pressure, and it's always good to have the fuel pump be able to put out more pressure than what the injectors can handle. Not that it should be putting out more pressure than what the injectors can handle, because that would ruin your fuel injectors. But if it's capable of doing that, then it's not running at 100% duty cycle, and you're not going to burn out that fuel pump, and you're never going to run into engine starvation, because it can always handle just that little more, or a lot more, depending on what kind of fuel pump and what kind of system you're running. But upgrading your fuel system is really one of these things that you want to be very precise with. Now, there's a book out there, you can check it out on Amazon, or I'm sure they have it at Barnes & Noble, or any of them fucking bookstores. But it's called CarMax, and inside this book is all the calculations you'll ever need. Now, what you want to do when upgrading your fuel system here is you want to do the calculations to figure out exactly how much fuel you need to flow for the amount of air coming in. So your fuel system has to work alongside your air intake system. Now, if you're running an NA engine, a cold air intake's not going to put out that much more fuel. You actually would be perfectly fine with an adjustable fuel pressure regulator and a nice high flow fuel filter. But when you go into boosted applications, or you want to do a nitrous oxide or something like that, you're going to need more fuel, at least from the stock fuel pump. You're going to need a lot more than that, so you would at least have to upgrade that. But for just a stock naturally aspirated engine, just an adjustable fuel pressure regulator and a high flow fuel filter should be plenty for you. I mean, really, you shouldn't need any more fuel than that. But you want to take in consideration, okay, I'm putting in this much air, therefore I need this much fuel. And there's calculations to figure that all out, and it's really important at this point to be precise with that stuff. Because then once you've gotten to this point where you're doing calculations, that's when you really want to add some type of piggyback or standalone engine computer to really be able to get the most out of all these systems. Like I've said before, and I will preach it all day long, if you're running any type of newer car, I mean pretty much anything without a carburetor on it, it's got an engine computer, you're not going to be able to get the most out of it without an engine computer, without some type of tuning as far as the computer goes. Engine management is a huge, huge deal, and the same goes for your fuel system. You're not going to get the most out of your fuel system, no matter how much pressure or fuel you're throwing at your engine, without being able to tune for it. So really, that's what it all comes down to: is where your air needs meet your fuel needs, and that all works together in a nice little meshy, scientific-y way. And then also what your stock computer or your current aftermarket computer can tune your engine for. So those are all things to keep in mind and take consideration when you're thinking about upgrading your fuel system. But really, for the most part, if you're not doing a ton of modifications, you're only doing a little bit of modifications, a fuel pressure regulator and a high flow filter is really all you're going to need. And like I said, unless you're doing some crazy modifications. But anyway, that's really all I got for you guys today as far as fuel systems go. I'm not sure if I rambled on. It's been a little while since I've done some videos, so hopefully you guys liked the last video. I hope you guys liked this video. If you could, hit that like button and let me know that you liked the video, and not just watch it and then move on. If you while you're down there, you feel like you got something to say to me, leave a comment in the comment section down below, because I always really appreciate it. I find the negative comments really funny. So I've got thick skin, you're not going to hurt me. And also, let me know what you guys think of the video. Maybe you disagree with me. Maybe I was wrong about something that I was talking about today. Just let me know. So, anyway, guys, like always, I'm Ron, telling you to enjoy the drive.